Welcome to Nightbeat Media's Living the Dream, where we explore the fascinating journeys and insights of thought leaders and personal development as they take us on their journey of self discovery. Now, today we truly have an exceptional guest with us. She's a solution focused self love mentor, a trauma coach, social worker gone rogue, and her clients affectionately call her the ego whisperer. And she's also a 3-time international Amazon best-selling author. Today, we have a remarkable guest with us who is truly a force to be reckoned with in the world of self-discovery and personal transformation. Her journey from social worker to solution-focused self-love mentor is nothing short of inspiring. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ashley Abramson.
Hello. Thank you so much. That was such a beautiful introduction. I'm so excited to be here today.
All right. Well, Ashley, we're going to jump right into it. Usually at this particular point in time, we always like to ask our guests to tell us about yourself.
Oh, geez. Well, I think I'm like pretty much everybody else. We've been through a lot of stuff in our life and we're just trying to figure out the answers, right? More detail my journey. I've had a lot of what people would call traumatic experiences. I lost my father to suicide. My parents were divorced. I've been through a divorce. I attempted suicide and was almost successful. And yeah, it's just been quite a journey. And through all of that, I've always knew there was something more. And I continued to be curious. And at times I would lock that curiosity up, but I always found my way back to it. And really, my life has just been a journey of finding truth. And I really feel like in the last couple of years, I've truly found what my truth is, and I'm living in the light and just walking with others on their journey back home to their own truth within, and not necessarily finding it, but remembering we all have what our truth and our purpose is within. And so often we're distracted and think it's outside of us, but it's not. And it's not even something that's lost, it's something to be remembered. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me, I guess.
Okay. Well, Ashley, you've been described as the ego whisperer, and you're also a 3-time international best-selling Amazon author. Now, your work empowers women who are seeking more than just the vanilla therapy sessions. Now, you dive deep into the realms of self-love and self-discovery. Now, you've even coined your own method, and that's called the unicorn effect, which
Yep, yep.
sounds absolutely intriguing. Can you tell our audience a bit about what you do and how you help your clients uncover their true selves?
Yeah. So, like I said, I've been on this journey for, I feel like, my entire life. So, I did a lot of external things, like I said earlier, gene key readings, looking for my answers in human design, looking at my answers and other people saying they have the blueprint for me. And what I really found was that you just need to clear out the noise. And so that was really my journey for I mean, it still is today. But when I really got to a place of hearing my truth, I was like, I feel like a magical unicorn. And the reason why I say that is because we're told that unicorns are these magical, mystical creatures that we're never meant to meet and only dream of. And it's very similar to us growing up. We're told, don't be this, don't be this, be this. And in reality, we're told to lock that authentic self up. And I'm here to say, no, you are meant to be your most magical, bright, authentic unicorn self. So that is really how the unicorn effect method came about. And when you stand in your truth, like the butterfly effect, the butterfly effect, a butterfly can flap its wings halfway around the world and cause a tsunami. And the unicorn effect, when you are standing in your truth and coming from a full place of love, if you just smile at a stranger, you can impact 7 billion people from that one smile. So that's really what the unicorn effect method and effect is about. So working with my clients, it's really about guiding them to their own answers. So I like to sometimes say that I'm really good at holding space that is free of judgment and allows for transformation. And I ask really great questions. And I think the reason why the work I do with my clients is so transformative is because I don't have an agenda. My only agenda is ensuring that I remain a clear vessel, meaning I don't bring in any of my own noise, my own, prickles or vulnerabilities or irritations, but really just be that clear mirror for that person to see their own truth and come to their own conclusions. Because, as my title says, solution focused self love mentor, when you're coming from a solution focused approach, that that person holds their own answers, and that when they come to a solution on their own through guidance, they're much more likely to stick to it because they have skin in the game. So yeah, that's really about what my journey with my clients looks like and the unicorn effect method.
Now, is that considered transform? Let me see. Let me take that back. Does that is considered intentional living, that you inspire your clients to live intentionally?
Yeah. Well, I think that intentional living is not possible if you don't know about yourself. And when I say you don't know about yourself, I also say that self love to me isn't wine Wednesdays and bubble baths. Self love is really getting deep and understanding who you are and why you're making decisions, because a lot of times you're operating from narratives that aren't your own. And I'll give an example of that. I'm curious all the time as to why I'm operating anyway and making any decision. And I was moving to Florida and I was going to buy a new car. And I was looking at a silver one. I've always had silver cars. My mom always had silver cars. And I knew I didn't want a white one. And I get on the phone with my mom and I'm like, hey, mom, I'm getting a new car. And she's like, you better not get a white one. And a light bulb clicked. And I was like, wait, do I not like white cars, or is this a narrative that I learned from her? So I intentionally purposely bought a white vehicle to understand what my narrative is. And guess what? I absolutely love my white car. And though most people listening would be like, well, that's not life changing, Ashley. But the reality is, how you do one thing is how you do all things. So you can't just pick and choose what areas of yourself you want to get to know. Otherwise, you know none of yourself. So it's an all encompassing, holistic, whole being approach of knowing the smallest things to the biggest things. And it's so much easier to start at the small things and practice that over time. And then it becomes like this second nature when times get tough, to take a step back, get curious, shift your perspective, release the weight, and remember. That's my other method that I call CPR squared for spirit. And it's really the foundation of any transformation.
And Ashley, that's incredible that you brought that up. And that is that sometimes we are unconsciously,
Mhm.
not purposely, but unconsciously influenced by others. As you had
Mhm.
mentioned, your mother had said, don't buy a white car. And often, as we are growing up, that we're exposed first to some of those suggestions that we tend to hold on to and unconsciously may play more of a major part of our lives
Mhm.
in how we react in situations than we may want to admit or acknowledge.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's really what intentional living is understanding why you make decisions the way you do, getting curious and then deciding, is this a narrative I still want to live by? And then making a choice. That's intentional living.
Mhm. Now, Ashley, can you share with us some practical tips or strategies for someone who wants to start living more intentionally in their daily life?
Yeah, so as I was talking about getting curious, just start out with the simple things like, do you wear your shoes in the house? Yes or no? And if you do or don't, why? And if your response is, well, because that's how it's always been, we didn't wear my shoes in the house with my mom or my grandma, then that's an opportunity to get even more curious about, like, does this align with what you want? And if it doesn't, then choose different. But it's just really the first step is just paying attention and getting curious, and getting curious from a place of non-judgment, right? You're that little 2-year-old asking the questions and not really putting any weight on what the response is, but you're just truly genuinely want to understand yourself. And as you do that and you get more and more curious, it'll just become second nature. And then only through the awareness that curiosity brings do you realize the power you hold within to choose, right? Like, if it's the car that I shared earlier, I had the power then to choose what I wanted to do. And I wanted to test and see if, in fact, that was my narrative. And I moved forward with that and realized that that's not my narrative. So I rewrote a narrative. And that is literally the foundation to any transformation. There's so many different personal development books out there today, and they put their shiny spin on everything, which is great. But reality is, every transformation, every personal development book has a foundation. And that foundation is getting curious and bringing the awareness. Then it is looking at the perspective and shifting your perspective. And then it's releasing any weight, meaning any shame or guilt or significant emotion or salvation, meaning your peace or happiness on it. And then remembering your truth, which is your highest self who's always speaking to you. But when you have all this noise in the way that isn't truth, it's hard to hear your highest self.
And do you believe that some people avoid coming or meeting their authentic self or diving deep due to we're kind of designed as humans to avoid discomfort?
Mhm.
And that sometimes when we meet our true selves, that it's that discomfort that, hey,
Mhm.
making these transformations, it's not an easy feat, that there's going to be some discomfort or
Mhm.
some pain for us in breaking through.
Yeah. Well, and I think, it's kind of like, well, it's the statement, choose your hard, right? Because if you're thinking about doing anything, it must be because life is hard. You're not happy, you're not satisfied, right? And I promise you, I was that person. And the reason why I avoided my true self or authentic self is because of the messages I received through my own lens as a child about who my authentic self was. And then my father, who I was very similar to, ended up successfully committing suicide, and that also reiterated my story of my authentic self shouldn't be seen, right? At all. It's not a good person. People don't like that person. It's childish, blah blah blah, all the noise. But in reality, it is so much easier once you get there. And it's sometimes hard, but I have a different spin as well on this journey back to your authentic self. There's a lot of um spiritual community stating that you have to go into the dark night of the soul and you have to go to the dark, scary places. And I think that's one of the things that deciphers me from other coaches and other mentors, is that I don't go there. We don't go to the dark places because, first of all, I'm a firm believer that the present moment is the most powerful and really all you have. So we address what's coming up in the moment. And for a period of time, I thought we needed to go to the dark stages. And I'm here to say you don't need to. You just stand in the light and you bring the darkness to the light, and it's immediately dispelled. But as long as you stand in the light and you are open and aware, it's so simple, actually, at the end of the day. But yeah, many people avoid it. I was a person that avoided it for many years myself. Um, and it's fear of change, right? I'm a firm believer that we're not afraid of the darkness. We live in the darkness, right? We're truly afraid of the light. So that's another piece too. When people say that, is like, are they really afraid of the darkness, or is it of the light? Because you're actually really living in the darkness right now.
That reminds me of something I heard in a Batman movie, and that was it was by Brain, and that was, hey, he was born in the darkness, and I guess that can be said for all of us, because when we're born, for 9 months, we are in the dark, right there. We do come into this world like that. Now, there is something I would like to ask you, and that is, how can someone identify their subconscious beliefs that might be sabotaging their efforts to live intentionally? And what steps can they take to change those beliefs?
Well, I mean, you have the choice, right? And I'm a firm believer that putting weight or shame and guilt is just going to keep you more stuck. So it's really just taking a step back and releasing it, and realizing it, right? Paying attention, and again, that curiosity, right? If you're not curious, you're not even going to know this. You're just going to shut down immediately. So you're going to have to get intentionally curious to understand what narratives are playing that are keeping you from wanting to live more intentionally. But in that process of understanding that, don't allow yourself to build shame and guilt. It just is. It just is what it is. And you look at it and you decide different. And maybe you don't want to live intentionally, and that's okay too. I mean, that's the beauty of you and you being an adult, is that you get to choose how you want to live, and no shame. I mean, I meet people all the time that are very well aware of all the trauma they have and all the areas they're being held back. And they're like, Ashley, I don't know if I'll ever work on this. And I'm like, that's your choice. That is the beauty of it. So, yeah, I would say, I mean, I know I keep bringing us back to the same spot, but truly, there is not some elaborate thing. It's getting curious. Like, if you get curious in literally anything in your life you're trying to do, it will get you to the next step.
Okay. And sometimes we look for the, what is it, like the steps or the easy fix right there, that, okay, if we do this right here. And I suppose that's where the self-development industry is really blowing up, is because a lot of people are looking for what is going to be that turnkey solution, far
Mm-hmm.
as in order to change their lives or to bring that fulfillment. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to change up for a little second, and that is to a story that I had read when I was doing my research with you, and that is you were carrying around a microphone with you for a month. Now, that sounds fascinating. Can you tell us more about the experience and what did you actually learn from doing that?
Yeah, so, I get curious. I always dig deep when I'm being held back in an area, and one of the areas I was being held back was I love to speak and I love speaking in front of people. But the second a microphone would enter my hand, I would freeze up. And I know it has a lot to do with me talking with my hands and needing to move the energy through my body. But I tried and tried to uncover some other reason. And I'm a firm believer that love conquers all and not conditional love, unconditional love. So I was like, I'm going to lean in with love. If I can't figure out what it is in my mind holding me back, I'm just going to step in. And I carried a microphone around for over a month and literally everywhere, to the grocery store, to the coffee shop. It was kind of an ongoing joke with friends. I have different videos of them picking up my microphone, but it was really beautiful understanding of how it doesn't really matter. Because at first, I would hold a microphone like next to my best friend and I would be shaking, speaking into it. And I would be like, Ashley, what is this about? And then I realized it was about judgment. It was about the fear of being seen. And I had worked a lot through that, but it's always lingering in different areas that you haven't addressed yet, right? Because you haven't ran into that situation. And so through this process, I was able to really allow myself to feel that anxiety and then to move through it and to release it and not put weight on it. And because I was surrounded by people that were supportive and saw this as a beautiful step in the next direction. And then it perfectly aligned with an opportunity right after the month and a half to speak in front of a group of 80 women and do a workshop holding a microphone. And it went absolutely amazing. So it was my step of like, all right, if you can't figure it out, be one with it. So I literally became one with the microphone.
So, what suggestions or exercises could someone else do in order to overcome some of those fears that they may have?
Oh, wow. That's a pretty hefty question. Um, Again, get curious. So when you feel that fear, like I did, ask yourself why. And usually it's never your first answer. So then you keep going. Well, why? There's a famous 7 layers deep. I think multiple different people have discussed that, but at least asking yourself why 7 layers deep. So every time you answer a question, ask yourself why to that question. And then continuously on, and you'll start to see the patterns. After you've gone through a few different fears, you'll see a lot of times they're surrounded around worth or love for self. And then it's really about getting honest with yourself. Like at one point in your life, that was built for a reason of survival, most like. And a lot of times that happens in our childhood. And then it's you really looking at where you're at in your life today and does that serve me anymore? And if it's lack of worth, start showing yourself you're worthy. Start making steps in your life that support you and pour into you.
Oh, that's great right there. Now, your story is incredible and it's relatable. It's wonderful to hear how you turned your own experiences into a powerful mission. to help and to guide others as far as in their own self-discovery. Where at first you were a social worker and then you made the transition to where you are now. If I could ask you why.
Oh, why? Well, I mean, obviously, I went into social work for the purpose of helping people. You don't, no one ever goes into that line of work for money. Trust me, you don't make much money. But looking back, what I realized is at that point, I went into that profession because I wanted to help other people, but I also believe because I needed help myself. And so often, when we don't want to face what's going on within ourselves, we project it out. So, what do I mean by projecting it out? We try to help someone else, or if, like, say you stub your toe and it hurts really bad, and your friend comes near you and does something and you yell at them, that's you projecting out what you can't handle within. And then through my time in social work, I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about the abilities of people to transform and their own capabilities within. And of course, learned my own capabilities. And then my divorce was, I was the happiest, healthiest, physically, emotionally, mentally I ever thought I would be right before my divorce. And then boom, my life fell apart and everything was ripped out from under me, and I fell apart. I had only been doing mindset work, and mindset work is wonderful, but the reality is it's only the icing on the cake. You've got to go deep. You've got to uncover the true fears and trauma and societal conditioning that's actually holding you back, because eventually the frosting will cave in if the cake isn't there. And that's what happened to me. And that's when my journey of picking up the pieces and really going on a journey of self discovery that I'm still on today, and really understanding and getting curious as to who I was and what I wanted to be and what truth is and what everything is all about. And when I started to come out the other side, when I was in my darkest space, I remember trying to Google fix myself. Because I was going to bars every night, I was taking random men home. And so I would Google, how do I get through this? And everything I read told me I was doing everything wrong. Well, I already knew that. So it just produced more shame and guilt. So when I started to really heal and take that next step into a new version of myself, I was like, I never want another woman to not have the opportunity to experience this level of self-love that I found, or to not have the shame, or them not to hear the shame and guilt, but to hear that other women are doing this and it's okay. You will be okay on the other side. And that's when my first business, or the birth of my business, um, Divorce Not Destroyed, was created. And that was really focused on walking with women after divorce to regain their confidence, independence, and joy in life again. And then, of course, as I've continued to grow and transform, so has my business and so has my clientele. But yeah, that's really been my journey. I feel like I have such a strong message within, and I have felt this since I was a little girl, that I carried some sort of message that was going to change the world. And I'm living it every day. I'm a living example of it, and I'm here to share it. And I love doing it. I love seeing people transform. I love just, oh, just seeing it. It's so beautiful.
And that helps me segue to the next part. And that is being a besides doing your transformative work, you're also an accomplished author. You have three books that are out, and one of the books is Lineage Speaks, and then the other is Where Social Work Can Lead You, and Divinity Speaks. Now, under your belt, can you share with us how your writing has complemented your journey and the message that you are passionate about and spreading as a result
Mm.
through your writing?
Yeah, so my writing has been so healing. It has been more profound in my healing journey than I ever thought it would be. I thought it would be fun to write and just to share something that's relatable to others. But the first Lineage Speaks, I wrote a chapter in that book, and essentially I wrote a letter to my father. And my father committed suicide when I was younger. And a lot of my healing journey has been healing the male wounds in my life, the wounds from my grandfather, my stepfather, and my father, around being worthy of love from men. And I thought I was at a pretty good place with my father. And then this opportunity came for this. And it came to me that I needed to close the door. I needed to fully close the door with my dad. So it's a letter written to my father about our journey here on earth together from my view, and then now our journey outside of here together, and how we are so similar, and how I've turned both of our messes into my mission. And it was just such a beautiful opportunity to write it. And then when I read it, so I read it out loud, it's on a podcast, actually, you can go hear it. It was a whole nother level of healing, because it was like, I wrote this. So I really feel it was in a place of healing. And the other two books have been just as powerful. If you go get them, read them in order of Lineage Speaks, Where Social Work Can Lead You, and then Divinity Speaks, and you will see the trajectory of my journey um, throughout. And also, I have an ebook where it has all of those chapters compiled into it as well, and that's available on my website. But if anybody's listening to this and you're thinking about writing, do it. I mean, it is so healing, and there's so many people out there that need to hear your story. Um, yeah, it's been profound.
And I've heard that quite often from a number of people, and that was that it was somewhat therapeutic, as far as in order to release all of that pent up, or to tell their story, to really get an opportunity to tell their story. Whether someone gets it or not, still get your story out there.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. So, Ashley, what's next? What's happening with you now?
Oh, wow. Lots of things. Well, I'm actually in the midst of writing my own book. And it really is about what we talked a lot about today, the fundamental pieces to any transformation, but it's written more in a story. That's CPR squared for spirit. I'm really excited for that. Hopefully, in the next year, it will be out and available. But I've really been just building community. I, of course, I do one-on-one coaching with others, but community has been a lot of my focus lately, and bringing people together and guiding them on journeys together. And I'm always creating new ones. I'm in the process of creating another online one. I currently have Big Miracle Energy, and then at my YouTube channel as well. So yeah, I see so many opportunities, but I just try to live in the present moment every day and be grateful for where I am and one step in front of another. Yeah, that's really where it's at.
Okay. And right now, we do have, for those who are listening, we have your website up. If you could tell us, how can the viewing, our audience, because we have viewers and we have listeners, how can they contact you, or how can they follow you?
Yeah, so my website's bigmiracleenergy.com. My YouTube is Big Miracle Energy. My Facebook page is Big Miracle Energy, and my TikTok. So, Big Miracle Energy is the keyword here, but I love to have conversation. There is a spot on my website to message me, but also you can always send me an email at Ashley at coachwithashley.net. And I would love to hear from you if you have questions or just want to have a discussion. Something we chatted about today prompted some discussion you would like to have. I love conversation.
And I'm sure, Ashley, that our audience will be eager to dive deeper into especially the unicorn effect right there. And I want to thank you for taking the time to share your journey as far as with our audience.
Yes. Thank you so much. I've had a wonderful time today, and I hope this was helpful to anyone listening and gives you that little pep in your step you needed to continue moving forward, because you're worth it. I mean, I think we don't hear that enough, but you are worth it, and don't give up. One foot in front of the other, and you're not alone in this either.
Again, thank you very much, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and share it with a friend. Your support means the world to us. We'll see you in the next one.